With the strong community support that we've had from Crystal Lakes, Red Feather, Glacier View, and the communities in the Poudre Canyon, including Rustic, we've been able to implement a lot of mechanical, manual, and broadcast burn prescribed fire projects that reduce the overall potential for extreme fire behavior. When a prescribed fire is implemented, it not only opens up the spacing from tree to tree, but it also removes the fuels from the surface where the fire typically spreads, and removes that transmission from the surface into the taller canopy, and ultimately reduces overall intensity and spotting potential. The Poudre Canyon itself is a known strong carrier of fires, both from up canyon to down canyon. And as the fire moved down canyon from Boston Peak, the fire pushed into the prescribed fire unit, and because the fuels had been treated, specifically those surface and ladder fuels, the fire's energy was significantly diminished to the point where that evening it essentially went out in the recently burned ground. It provided a building block to do just what it did during the Cameron Peak fire, which was to either redirect some aggressive wildfire movement or to provide firefighters a foothold to be able to build suppression opportunities off of and have a safer location to do so. This Pingree Hill project area prevented any further movement of the head fire from Cameron Peak moving down canyon and towards the communities of North Rim Road and Glacier View. As the fire came down the 7-mile drainage and into the eastern portion of Rustic, they burned off the highway itself and sent fire back up to the fire that had crossed, and allowed both the head fire and their burnout operation to just hit the burn scar that we had created through our prescribed fire project. And in both cases, it ended up losing all of its energy and going out within a one-day period. Right now we're in one of our mechanical thinning units within the Elkhorn project area, surrounded by the Red Feather project area, essentially in between Red Feather Lakes, Colorado, and Rustic. What was prescribed was to thin this area, as I mentioned, the overstory, and then removing the ladder fuels. When we do these projects, they're often meant to meet multiple objectives. So both from a fuels reduction standpoint, from a generation of product, and to create improved wildlife habitat, and also to increase visuals and recreational opportunities. As the fire front moved through this area, because of the thinning and the understory removal to reduce those ladder fuels, the fire was unable to sustain and stayed on the surface. So although the fire burned through the area, it burned with much less intensity, and in many cases never even torched out a single tree.